Since SpaceX only slightly disregarded FAA launch regulations, they were only given a warning. After SpaceX failed to submit data before an August 2022 rocket launch that could have predicted the likelihood of a collision in space, the FAA has proposed fining the company $175,000. Is the FAA's decision on Starship's first orbital flight still on track? And how did Elon Musk and SpaceX respond? On February 17, 2023, the FAA announced it was seeking $175,000 from SpaceX for failing to provide collision avoidance data prior to a Falcon 9 launch in 2017. SpaceX launched 53 Starlink satellites on a mission designated Starlink 427 on August 19 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, and the FAA said it planned to fine SpaceX for failing to submit launch collision analysis trajectory data at least 7 days before the launch. At least 7 days prior to a launch, SpaceX and other launch operators like them are required by federal regulations to submit data demonstrating that the likelihood of a collision between a launch object and any satellite or tracked piece of orbital debris is less than 1 in 100,000 or that an adequate separation distance will be maintained. For possible collisions with crewed vehicles with a greater standoff distance, that threshold rises to 1 in a million. SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, is pushing the limits of US launch and rocket re-entry regulations in 2021, which has led to the FAA proposing a fine. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a statement saying that SpaceX violated the terms of its launch license by launching a Starship rocket prototype. SpaceX attempted to get a waiver from federal safety regulations before that December test flight so that it could expose the public to greater danger than was legally permitted. The FAA claimed that SpaceX launched anyway after being denied that waiver. Musk tweeted in 2021, "Unlike its aircraft division, which is fine, the FAA Space Division has a fundamentally broken regulatory structure. Their guidelines are designed for a small number of disposable launches per year from a small number of government facilities. The rules as they stand to prevent humans from ever reaching Mars." The FAA has stated that it will not abandon its duty to ensure the safety of the public. "We won't greenlight the change until we're sure SpaceX has done everything it needs to do to meet regulators' standards." The FAA claims that SpaceX did not provide this documentation prior to the launch of the Starlink 427 satellite. Not knowing why SpaceX didn't provide that data for this launch was a mystery. Since SpaceX rarely responds to media requests for comment, there was no immediate response to questions about the proposed fine. Given SpaceX's failure to comply with this request, the company could face a fine of up to $262,666, assuming no further increases in the cost of living. After reviewing all of the information contained in our investigative file, we propose to assess a civil penalty in the amount of $175,000, the FAA wrote to SpaceX. The FAA proposed an informal conference with SpaceX to go over the proposed fine and give the company a chance to submit information for review. SpaceX may choose to attend such a gathering or pursue other options within a 30-day grace period. Due to the rising number of launches and satellites, as well as orbital debris, the FAA and launch providers are struggling to find effective solutions to the issue of preventing collisions. Due to the congestion and packed density of some of our orbits, there are days when the collision avoidance standoff distances can't be met for some launches. This is especially true for new launch operators who lack the experience with their vehicles to use the probability calculations, said Steph Earle, manager of the FAA's Space Policy and Outreach Branch, during a panel discussion at the FAA Commercial Space Transportation Conference on February 8th. He elaborated that they are eager to lift off, but they don't receive their collision avoidance until the last minute, perhaps a week or two in advance, only to discover that it is full and there is no available window. He suggested that new technologies might help, but that a more systemic shift in how collision avoidance is handled might be necessary. "We can't go back to the same old paradigms," he said. "The penalty will not, however, change our minds about sending the ship on its maiden voyage." Shotwell, president and COO of SpaceX, recently said of the environmental review, We've been working all the mitigation since we got it. This includes collaboration with state and federal agencies. I think we'll be ready to fly right at the time frame that we get the license. He said off when they might receive their pilot certificate. As a result, the Starship will have to launch, as it is no longer an optional component of SpaceX, but rather an integral part of Project Artemis, a NASA-led plan to return astronauts to the moon. The first humans to return to the moon will arrive there via Starship. In addition, the Starship will make it possible for NASA to send missions anywhere in the solar system without being limited by the typical mass requirements of such missions. The SpaceX rocket ship, once refueled, can transport 100 metric tons from anywhere on Mars to any of the outer planet's moons. Having access to such a feature would be a huge help for research and exploration. Russia and China's recent anti-satellite weapon tests, along with Russian nuclear saber-rattling after its invasion of Ukraine, serve as a sobering reminder that the world is still a dangerous place. Also, these things show that having control over space will be important to protect the world from the dangers that dictators and terrorists pose. The Starship could give the new US Space Force the ability to conduct continuous direct operations in space. Its capacity to launch hefty payloads could be used to combat anti-satellite weapons from Russia and China, as well as to begin clearing the skies of the space junk that has proven to be a threat to space travel. The Starship has the potential to realize Ronald Reagan's dream of a space-based missile defense system, which would make nuclear war extremely unlikely due to recent advancements in laser weapons technology achieved by Israel and the United States Navy. The sooner the dream is made real, the better, especially in light of the chilling threats being issued by Russian President Vladimir Putin and his military to launch nuclear strikes on the West. In the meantime, the SpaceX facility in Texas Boca Chica is situated next to a protected wildlife area. However, the Kennedy Space Center in Florida has been launching rockets next to the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge for over 60 years, so SpaceX should take whatever precautions are necessary to protect that sanctuary. Texas space launches are feasible without negatively impacting the environment, as was successfully accomplished in Florida. So then, let the go-ahead for Starship launches be given as soon as possible. And there you have it, the latest news on SpaceX's fine proposed by the FAA. Do you think the fine is justified, or do you agree with Elon Musk's perspective? Let us know in the comments below. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Fred. Please subscribe to our channel for more technology updates, and like and share this video. Speaking of space exploration, did you know that China has been making significant strides in its own secret space program? If you're interested in it, make sure to click and watch the next video here.